out about Fidel Castro. They're gone. You know, look, I mean, people say, what does sovereignty mean, Pat? I say, go down to the village green in Lexington. Go down and stand there where 17-year-old boys stood to stop the greatest army in the world. And stand there with them. And you'll understand what it's all about. And I'll tell you something. When I get there, we're not going to surrender an iota. And we're going to get back all the lost sovereignty these people have surrendered. Look how far we've gone. You've heard the story of those 16 young Americans shot down in that friendly fire incident in Iraq. They brought the bodies home to Dover Air Force Base. When they got there, the Vice President issues a formal statement. Says the parents of these young Americans can be proud they died in the service of the United Nations. The UN. Let me tell you, they didn't take any oath to the United Nations. They took an oath to you and me. They took an oath to the United States. They took an oath to our Constitution. And when I'm President of the United States, never again will young Americans be sent into battle except under American officers. He knows about Michael New, but I'm going to tell you those of you who don't about Michael New. Michael New is an devout Christian, homeschooled, volunteered for the Army of the United States, is decorated in Germany, and Bill Clinton, his commander-in-chief, ordered him into Macedonia and told him to put on UN insignia, fella, put on a UN helmet and take orders from UN officers. And Michael New said, no, I'm not going to do that, because I took an oath not to the Charter of the United Nations, but to the Constitution of the United States. So they court-martialed. Let me finish the story. They have court-martialed Michael New. They stripped him of his rank, convicted him, and dishonorably discharged Michael New from the service of his country. But Michael New is not the one who ought to be discharged from the service of his country. Bill Clinton's the one that ought to be discharged from the service of his country. Bill Clinton's the one that ought to be discharged from the service of his country. Have you all met Bob Dole? So let me tell you, people ask me, what is your campaign all about if you could sum it up in a couple of words? And I said, my campaign is about restoring the constitutional republic of the Founding Fathers' dream. And that means the 10th Amendment. That means restoring the 10th Amendment, which says that, listen, in this Constitution, certain responsibilities and duties are given to the federal government, and the rest belong to the states, respectively, and to the people. And one of those responsibilities, quite frankly, is the education of America's young or children, primary and secondary school education. That responsibility does not belong with federal bureaucrats. Now let me tell you something. There's a big secret in American politics about federal bureaucrats. I want to tell about it. And to do so, I got to tell you the truth. I was born and raised inside the Beltway before there was a Beltway, Washington, D.C. I grew up in Washington, D.C. I even at one time, 10 years old, I delivered the Washington Post. Don't worry, they robbed me blind and I'll never forget it. But let me tell you something. I know those bureaucrats because I used to hitchhike into an inner city high school every day for 4 years. And every day one of those bureaucrats gave me a ride. And they're real nice fellows, but they're not all that bright. I'm telling you. Really, they gave us a ride down there. And now they're trying to dictate primary and secondary school education. Well, I'm going to tell them, listen, fellas, it's going to be short. We're going to put you all on leave here. What we're going to do is we're going to end Goals 2000. And we are going to shut down the U.S. Department of Education. If I get there, we're going to get there. When I do, those bureaucrats in Washington, they're going to be in covered wagons going across the bridges into Virginia. They're going to be gone. Like immigrants. We're going to move them all out of there. So I got a lot of room for my limousine to drive in. This is too much fun. This is too much fun. We got them all on the run. And we got them all on the run, my friends. They're all nervous and frightened and terrified back there. The establishment in Washington, they don't know what to do. They say, what's going on up there? What's going on? They're all watching New Hampshire, friends. They are watching New Hampshire. They're watching New Hampshire. They got the national press and they got the world press. They're all coming in, brother. They're all here. I had one reporter from China, I think it was here. What are you going to do about communist China? They know how far we're moving, friends. They know how fast we're moving. If we break out here, if we break out here, we go to Arizona, I'll tell you what happens there. We bury about 3 of them in Monument Valley, and then we head to South Carolina. That's if we don't leave them in the snow up here. Listen, this is a marvelous, this is a wonderful campaign. Nobody ever thought we could do anything. You know, they said, what is he doing here? I've told the story many times, let me tell it again. You know, I went down a year ago. They had a straw poll down there in Louisiana. I didn't know there was a straw poll. It had been set up by my friend Phil Graham. He set these things up and beat me 10 straight times. Straw poll Phil, we called him. We couldn't beat Phil anywhere. So I went down there, and I was supposed to speak to a chamber of commerce. They said, come on over and speak to the Republican Party. I said, okay, you give me one more night expenses, and I'll go to New Orleans with Shelley. We'll have a great time, and I'll speak to you. So I got over there. They said, Pat, there's a straw poll, and it's almost over, and you're losing 9-1. I said, what is going on? So this reporter comes up and said, Pat, you're not serious about getting into this, are you? I said, let me tell you what I'm doing. I've given up my job opposite the great Michael Kinsley on Crossfire. I've given up my radio show opposite Rush. I'm giving up my syndicated column. And I'm even giving up my book contract. I said, not as big or as impressive as Newt's. It's a little bit of change, though. I'm giving it up. So I said, what does that tell you? He just shook his head. He said, Pat, I'm afraid that gives me my lead. Unemployed, angry white male may seek presidency. They said, we're about 8th or 9th in the polls, trailing everybody, going along. And we started moving all of a sudden. We started moving. I said, Mr. Forbes, said he's Mr. January. It's the wrong month. You got to be Mr. February. February's the key month, Steve. And so we became Mr. February. What's happening now? Look how we've changed the dynamic of American politics. Look how we've changed it. You know, Bob Dole's got an ad saying, that fellow's extreme. He's an extremist. Who does Bob Dole most sound like today? You know, I'll tell you, I think I sound like an echo chamber at times, you know? I mean, he's standing up here talking about a cultural war for the soul of America, Bob Dole is. And he said, Bob Dole, what did he say yesterday? We got to do something about corporate greed. That's Bob Dole. You know, I said, tell him, listen, Bob, it'd be more effective if you didn't make the statement from inside the corporate jet of Chiquita Banana. Bob's idea of a populist rally is to have dinner with Bob Strauss and Dwayne Andreas of ADM at Katharine Graham's place over in Georgetown. This man's amazing. But they're all sounding like me. They really are. All of them. All of them. Lamar said, we got to tear down this Department of Education. I said, wait a minute, Lamar, didn't you build the Department of Education? He said, no. He said, no. He said, that was some guy in a suit. I wear a plaid shirt. You know, he says, I'm the real conservative. I'm the real outsider, not Pat. And I tell him, look, you can't fool folks up in New Hampshire, Lamar. I said, for 20 years, they've been reading Pat Buchanan and William Loeb and Mackie Loeb's great Union leader. They've been reading me. They see me come up here in 1992 when no one else was here, standing up against those tax increases when my friend Lamar's sipping coffee in the cabinet room, you know, with all the tax raisers and the big spenders. He was in there. And you cannot, Lamar, you can't cancel out 20 years of that by putting on that plaid shirt, walking across the state. It just won't do it up here. These folks are too smart for that. But they're all sound like us, even Bill Clinton. Who's that fellow? Imus? Imus in the morning? Is that his name? Imus. Imus in the morning said after Clinton's State of the Union, he said, "That's the best State of the Union speech Bill Clinton ever gave." He said, "I think Pat Buchanan wrote that one." Can you believe it? Here's a guy, Clinton tried to grab the entire healthcare industry, nationwide 15% of the gross national product, and put it under big government. That's what he did in his first 2 years. Now he says the era of big government is over in America. That fellow's amazing. Clinton in 96 is running against the guy who was president in 93. Where that might have been. What else he say? He's up there, he's talking about illegal immigration. He's yelling about illegal immigration. And he also says, listen, I think we got to get power back in the public schools. This guy's shameless. He's shameless. You're going to see him out at the National Rifle Association. I'll tell you, at their next convention, he'll be out there. He'll have that camouflage outfit on, combat camouflage. One of those fatigue caps, you know, looking at the guns and things. He'll hold up an AK-47 over his head and say, "Don't try to take my firearms away from me, boys." These guys. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. We've given it everything. It's a great, great campaign. I've got to say, the gentleman said thanks to me, thanks to you. I came up here in 1992, 91 with Shelley, and nobody was up here. You know the whole reaction in Washington, D.C.? When we came off a talk show, challenged the President of the United States in 10 weeks before the New Hampshire primary. The reaction was mockery and laughter and ridicule.
He's laughing now, Pat!
It was, and after 10 weeks, we almost, when they were shaking in their boots in the White House, the whole gang back there, you know, all them consultants, and we almost did it, and then they beat us down. They had more resources, and the establishment got together, and they beat us down in Georgia, and they beat us down on Super Tuesday. They said, well, we finished that guy off. Now let's go back to business as usual. So then we slipped back in a year ago, and we started up that hill. We shocked them with Alaska, and stunned them in Louisiana, and then stunned them again in Iowa, and they are in a terminal panic in Washington, our friends. They are frightened. They hear the shouts of the peasants from over the hill. You watch the establishment, all the knights and barons will be riding into the castle, pulling up the drawbridge in a minute, because they're coming. All the peasants are coming with pitchforks after them. So we're going to take this over the top. But this has been a great and good campaign. It's been about, I'll tell you why it's been a good campaign. Because look, we haven't gone after these guys. I didn't even know what a push pole was. I don't know this. Well, they got all these guys, Bob Dole, running and hiring these guys $400,000. And the best they can do, you know, is college dirty tricks on Pat Buchanan. They got no vision. They got no agenda. They got no convictions, belief. T.S. Eliot's hollow men, headpiece filled with straw. That's what they're all about. We got heart, we got soul, we got passion, we got fire, we got energy, and we're going to get the White House. Thank you very much.
This evening, Pat Buchanan attends Mass at St. Joseph's Catholic Church